If you're looking for a perfect everyday bag that is light, durable, versatile, and hip for the summer, don't miss out on the newest addition to the Knack Bag family of products, the Knack Sling Bag.
Yes, in a season full of ugly bucket hats, bootleg t-shirts, and board shorts, the Knack Sling Bag will make you the talk of the beach. It's everything you need in a fanny pack, but improved in a million different ways. It's lightweight, endlessly expandable, and stylish as all get out. Yes, indeed, the Knack Sling Bag is the perfect companion for every adventure.
Check out the link in the description to order yours with free shipping on all orders. Thanks to our friends at Knack for sponsoring this episode. If you get a Knack Bag, don't forget to post it on social and tag us at ETB Sports. We want to see you enjoying your Knack Bag.
This is Empty the Bench with Tom Albano.
Vince McMahon actually paid more in this hush money settlement than he did for WCW. He only paid $2 million for WCW because WCW was only worth that much. Time Warner canceled all their television deals.
Nick Morgeson. Why is the NFLPA getting in bed with Deshaun Watson and saying they're going to fight it? The NFLPA has no fight. And Nick Federa.
It's Accountability Olympics. One time only. No one's going to get away with it.
Empty the Bench starts now.
Sometimes you just got to sit naked in a bubble bath and just challenge yourself to a fart contest. Somehow I knew that was going to end up.
Wait a minute. That was actually not my choice.
It was my choice this week.
Wait a minute. That actually was not my choice, okay?
I take the hit for that one.
Yeah. Welcome to episode 141 of Empty the Bench, along with Tom Albano and Nick Federa and the sick Nick Morgeson, who still managed to sit here. Welcome to episode 141. Follow us across social media platforms at ETB Sports. Follow us across the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll see how much my voice lasts and if I don't die when we talk about some of the topics that are going to come up today.
Well, let's say you weren't going to make it, and then a certain athlete here in New York did something stupid, and as a result, here you are because you couldn't miss this opportunity. So we've got NBA to talk about. We also need you for the NBA free agency and NBA draft that took place recently. We'll also talk about the Stanley Cup win. The Colorado Avalanche, for the first time since 2001, are hoisting the Stanley Cup. We'll talk about the Yankees and Aaron Judge. We'll talk about the embarrassments that the Yankees received last week, courtesy of the Houston Astros. And something that we missed last week, we should talk about last week, that was actually talked about, not on the most recent game but on the previous one, a potential balls and strikes challenge system in MLB. Yes, good old Rob Manfred will make a return this week.
Are you trying to make me sicker? Is that what you're trying to do here?
Hey, look,
No.
you're the one who decided to come on this show because Kyrie Irving is pretty much like a bug zapper to you. Kyrie Irving does something and you come running. It's like a bat signal.
No, you know what the worst part is? Kyrie Irving is now above LeBron James on my big board right now.
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's saying something. There actually is a big board, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Well, guys, we would be remiss if for the 5th, 6th week in a row, we did not start with Deshaun Watson. And now we are about a day removed from the first day of the hearings for Deshaun Watson. They are in front of, I believe her name's Sue Robinson.
Yeah.
In the case.
She's the NFL disciplinary officer, apparently, for both sides, the NFL and the NFLPA, which is kind of strange considering that both sides actually agreed on who the disciplinarian is going to be. And I'm surprised we haven't heard lawyer yet.
Well, this is apparently something that the NFL and NFLPA agreed on a couple of years ago when they redid their CBA, that they would have this third-party disciplinary officer. So for those of you who have been sleeping under a rock or trying to avoid this story like the plague, Deshaun Watson is now in a hearing process for his suspension. And as the Wall Street Journal reported this past week, a couple of days after our last episode, they are indeed seeking an indefinite suspension for Deshaun Watson, one that would last at the very minimum all of the 2022 season. How it would work is that Deshaun Watson would be suspended for all of 2022. He could come back for the 2023 season, but he would have to go through a reapplication process. He would have to reapply to be in the league. And the Browns, if such a thing were to happen, so now we talked about punishments involving teams. The Texans got no punishment for the what do we call it? The negligence,
the enabling.
Enabling and negligence.
Well,
however, the Browns
there's a whole other part to that story as well, which we can add to this, with the Texans being sued now for some of their negligence. But that's as we continue on.
True. But the Browns, it's funny because mention how the Texans aren't going to get anything for this right now, at least right now, but the Browns may actually get some relief because if indeed he is suspended for all of 2022, there is a way in the contracts that the Browns could get what's called a pause, in which Deshaun won't lose any of his guaranteed money. But the contract would be delayed 1 year. So the Browns, any money that they could have given to Deshaun in 2022 will now be delayed to 2023, allowing the Browns more cap room for the offseason to make any more moves if they needed to. Let's say maybe wave some more money in the face of a certain other quarterback who is on a big disconnect with them that we'll talk about in just a second.
Well, there is one thing I got to say, though, and I need to correct one thing. So technically, it wasn't costing them much money anyway because the agent of Deshaun Watson, I said this last week, apparently knew something that the whole world didn't know right away because they said, hey, Deshaun, we're going to make your base salary $1 million and everything is going to go into the bonus. Now, let me think about this for a second. $1 million base salary, 90% of it in bonus. That kind of tells me something is going on, doesn't it?
They knew something.
Yeah, you don't just Bobby Bonilla somebody, like that unless you know something.
But it's not Bobby Bonilla. No, Bobby Bonilla was deferred money. That's different.
There's no interest here.
There's no interest here. This is literally pushing the money into the bonus so that in technicality, they can't touch the money because according to the NFL bylaws, you can't touch the money that's bonus.
Only what is guaranteed as
no, either base salary or guarantees. That's it.
Genius.
With a capital J.
So guess what? I said this last week. The agent outsmarted all of us, not just the NFL, all of us.
I mean, it's obvious that they know something that we don't.
Are you serious? What made you think that?
I mean, gesturing wildly at the situation in front of us. We've spent enough of this to actually talk about this for the next 4 months.
That was hyperbole, Nick. My point was that basically the agent knew this for probably over a year, probably that something was going on, and that when Deshaun was up for a new contract and a trade situation, he knew he had to make the first year the least amount of money because they knew he was going to be suspended for a year.
Yeah, and you're basically allowing the Browns to give him a giant IOU.
It's not even an IOU. He's getting the money just in bonuses. It's not an IOU.
See, there's something about that sounds like money laundering, but I can't
No.
quite put my finger on it.
It's not, because in any sport, actually, I think NFL is the only one that has bonus money technically in that structure. But look at Aaron Rodgers' contract. Now, I'm not saying he's just an idiot. He didn't do anything illegal. But my point is, most of his money is in bonuses because then it doesn't count against the cap. That's why they did it.
But it's pretty obvious we're all expecting the same outcome, right?
Well, let's talk about the outcome. So, the NFL and NFLPA, as expected, are very far apart on an agreement about punishment. In fact, guys, I'm going to say something that might ruffle your feathers. The NFLPA, do you want to know what they argued to Ms. Robinson? What Deshaun's suspension length should be?
What?
0 games. Now, before we get into the raging and everything, I should note that there were a series of tweets from Josina Anderson, who is
one of the better NFL insiders in all of the game, by the way.
Yes, so it is a three tweet thread, and this is what she has to report. Ahead of the disciplinary hearing today, I was told the NFL is expected to focus on 5 women in its Deshaun Watson discipline case, but also that 2 of them had their claims dismissed by separate grand juries. My understanding is evidence will be presented by Watson's side demonstrating perpetrated mistruths in the allegations in said cases, per leak source. I'm told in order to counter the indefinite suspension of at least a year that the NFL is reportedly seeking, Deshaun Watson's counsel will tactically reason for 0 games missed. There is belief the open-ended suspension was leaked to still effort a settlement before a decision from hearing officer Sue Robinson.
I just wanted to say one thing, Nick.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so what you're talking about is, and this goes back to some of the legalities behind how they determine. So before the punishment can be dropped, legally they have to share it with Deshaun's side. So the reason it's getting leaked is because it legally has to be shared with Deshaun's team before it could legally be confirmed as a punishment.
And kind of trying to trepidate Watson's side into maybe doing some settled punishment so that it's not as harsh.
Let's put it this way. There's going to be no settlement here. Either it's going to be he gets off scot-free, which I don't see happening, or he's going to get a massive suspension. It's going to be one or the other. There's no settlement here.
And, I mean, you also had the NFLPA, we talked about this, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, arguing that the part of the evidence that Ms. Anderson is going to talk about is because they're going to be using the examples of Dan Snyder, Robert Kraft, and Jerry Jones, all who have had controversies in about the last 5 years or so, but have not been given any sort of punishment. And in fact, Josina Anderson reported here. This was a tweet actually from, 10 minutes before we started recording, guys. Per Forbes, Daniel Snyder's net worth is $4 billion. The NFL fined Snyder $10 million after investigating his workplace culture, representing 0.25% of his worth. Per Yahoo, Robert Kraft faced no discipline after misdemeanor prostitution charges were dropped. So, and then actually, prior to that, Josina tweeted a quote that reportedly Goodell told Yahoo at the spring meetings in 2019, quote, "The personal conduct policy applies to everybody, commissioners, owners, executives, players, coaches, and it will be applied to everybody. But it will be done after we get all the information. We will be fair and smart." Tweeting this out because she said this is going to be relevant to the case because this is stuff Watson's side is going to be arguing.
First of all...
Yeah, he says that, and if that's true, then I'm the king of Sardinia.
Well, actually, Nick is leading to my point that, first of all, for her to come out with those bylines, and I'm not blaming her, she's just pointing out the rules of the NFL that everyone is supposed to be under the same diplomacy.
Goes back to what I said last week. In an owner-first league where Goodell works for the owners,
there's no diplomacy. There's no diplomacy. If there was diplomacy here, those owners would have been either suspended,
thrown out of the league, given the old Donald Sterling special.
And technically, Daniel Snyder's case isn't resolved right now because he's back in the, I don't want to say the discipline chair, but he is back under the crossfires right now in terms of all of his allegations, to the point where there was even a reported vote about if he should remain.
Yeah, but we're talking about an owner in Washington who doesn't give a crap. He just wants to own a football team. He doesn't care what the rules are. He had alleged situations with cheerleaders, okay? He had alleged situations with the ownership. They're trying to get a new stadium. Oh, what does that sound like? The Browns. We're all dealing with situations where it's the owner's club. We've said this many times. Roger Goodell, who is a wimp, by the way, because he went up in front of Congress and basically said, I can't do anything. I'm powerless when it comes to the owners. Really? You're the commissioner of the sport and you're powerless. That's what I heard.
Just because I have the owner tattooed, just because I have the word owner tattooed on my ass doesn't mean I'm actually the commissioner. At a certain point, ladies and gentlemen, not that I'm here to play devil's advocate, because I really am not. But two wrongs don't make a right. Just because the fact that they didn't get punished for it doesn't necessarily mean that precedent that Deshaun shouldn't also face some consequences.
Nick and I are
What do you
going on the
think?
same point. Nick and I are about to say the exact same thing.
I'm just gonna stay quiet and not say
No,
it.
go ahead. No, say it.
No,
Say it.
you say it.
They say, okay, and 3 rights don't make a left.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 rights don't make a left.
Okay. Okay, let me actually state my opinion here because, yeah, you know what? We have talked about how the owners never faced any sort of punishment. We have talked about how Deshaun Watson has all these allegations. He's settled most of them. Now, also to note about that, sorry to interrupt my own points, but there is a report out there from good old Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, that there may be some more lawsuits based on some paperwork that was filed in court on Monday, that there could be another 6. However, nobody else is reporting on it, and he is going off of a paperwork thing. So so nobody is really confirming that. This is just more wild speculation. There could be more out there. But my point, yeah, we talked about what Deshaun has done or hasn't done, all these constant arguments with the NFL, NFLPA, the owners, the NFL's own issues with discipline. For instance, we talked about Ray Rice. But guys, you know what else broke this week? Alvin Kamara, if you remember, during the winter, he was in a big assault, ended up getting into was it a bar fight?
He got into a bar fight, and I think he attacked someone's face, if I'm not mistaken.
And he got arrested for assault. He is going to be facing a 6-game suspension.
Well, the report actually said that the team was bracing for a 6-game suspension.
The team is bracing, and it's expected to be 6 games, but honestly, if we know the NFLPA and how they fight everything, just like how they're fighting this, that's probably going to get turned to 4. My point is this. I know the NFLPA is doing its job. I know the NFL hasn't had a great record of discipline. But if you're telling me that Deshaun Watson could get off scot-free when we've got Alvin Kamara going off, getting 4 to 6 games, when we have DeAndre Hopkins, another one of the best players in the league, who's going to miss about half of the season because of performance enhancers.
Well, PEDs are different because I think they have rules in place for PEDs.
My point, Nick, is, and I'm not trying to compare crimes. I'm not trying to say all of the women who have come forward against Watson are telling the truth or are lying. But when you have a guy like Alvin Kamara, a star of this league, who is going to be out for about a quarter of the season with an assault, and about half the season for DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers in this league, who's going to miss games for PED. And then Watson, who has dragged his name. Because remember, NFL suspensions also are about, we've discussed this on the show before, how much they're dragged in the mud. This case, this allegations, it's been over a year now. All this dragging, all of this drama, all of these women coming forward, and Deshaun not getting anything, that does not sound right in my book. My point here is the NFL, for all of their disciplinary problems, this is a chance that they have to finally put a foot down and say, we're not going to fuck this up. And this kind of suspension would be, and I said this in the minute that I did recently, this would be that first step.
I mean, I don't know how much I trust the NFL brass to come through and actually give a...
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just I don't expect the NFL to be the ones to make it.
Well, here's the other issue you have. So you're
on the right side of things, Tom. It's just they're not.
The NFL is going to be diplomatic. That's how they are. Now, here's the issue you're going to run into. If he gets 0 games, there's going to be an outcry and an uproar and a protest outside the Browns stadium if there's no suspension. I'm telling you right now, every woman is going to come out of the woodworks and basically say, this man allegedly assaulted 24 or 26 women, had possible relations allegedly with 66 total. And you're telling me that nothing fishy went down in that situation?
You're telling me there's no there. I understand. Even coming out of your mouth, it sounds like complete. It sounds like complete bull.
And the other thing that people are missing out in this whole situation with the Texans, They had their own team masseuse. People are forgetting that. He went outside the teams. Now, excuse me, I've heard this point a lot of people have made that
COVID.
no, not even that. People could say you might not like the work of a certain masseuse, so you go out and you buy your own. You get your own. So it's possible. That's for one. But for 66, then there's something going on.
Right. It's the thing. It's one of these things where it's like, again, I can't say everybody, all these women have come forward, have a case, don't have a case, have mistruths, lies. They're telling 100% truths. But the fact that there were 66 women involved, 20 something are coming forward, and all but 4 of them have settled. It's like, okay, maybe not all of them, but there's at least something. There is some sort of guilt. Something has happened. And because something has happened, again, compared to what Kamara and DeAndre have, we're going to, how can Deshaun not get any sort of penalty? I don't.
This all goes back to one person, okay? It goes back to Calvin Ridley getting the 1-year suspension for gambling.
And there's that too. There is that too.
You set the bar high on someone who didn't even, I guess technically it's a crime for gambling illegally.
But you didn't assault anybody. And
No. But my point was technically, I guess he committed a non-physical crime by betting on his own sport. But my point is that he got a year for gambling. That means you got to go 2-3 years to make a point.
And
actually, considering how deeply entwined they are in gambling now.
And Nick, you bring that up. Actually, that makes what I was saying before even worse, because Kamara and Hopkins, who one had a PDs, one actually got into physical brawling, and the guy who got the least worrisome of those 3, I shouldn't say least worrisome, but again, Calvin really didn't punch anybody in the face. He didn't inject himself with any chances, and he's going to get it worse. That means for Deshaun, that's why I think it was either a Bills player or a big Bills fan account or something who actually made an argument. I was browsing Twitter a couple of months ago that said, honestly, Deshaun should get 2 years for this.
Well, that's what I keep saying. First of all, I said the Deshaun should be a jailbird, but that's a whole different issue. But I think Deshaun should be indefinite, and they should lock him up and throw the key away and not allow him back in the NFL. And the NFL should grant the Browns out of that contract and let them either bring Baker back and do what they got to do. They should bring back. First of all, I know Baker's not an angel by any sorts. We all know that. But believe it or not, he actually has been quiet on the NFL front, on the football front.
Okay. We'll get to Baker in a second. Before we do that little transition, I want one last note, guys. Talking about the 0 game potential again. If it somehow were to happen, I agree it should not happen. But if it were somehow to happen, listen to me. Okay, if you're fully on for that, then at least the reduced suspension. Who do you blame more for that? Who would you blame more for that? The NFLPA for the defenses that they have, or the NFL for the things like the lack of discipline, the Ray Rice, the lack of discipline against the owners?
I blame it on the NFL because they want to make a buck. That's what I blame it on. Because they know that $230 million, the NFL is getting a cut of every time the Browns make money. So the NFL wants to make a buck. They don't care.
No, my point was, if that were the case, let's say they're going for an indefinite suspension and Watson only gets 6 games or 8 games. Is it like what I said last week, where the NFL kind of dug its own grave years ago when they did things like Ray Rice only suspending him for 2 games, not putting any discipline against these owners?
This is on the NFL. If the NFL gives a dinky 4 to 6 game suspension, this is on the NFL. Because to be honest, they should push for a long suspension and let Deshaun and his team fight it out in court. What do they have to lose? He's just going to sit out until the legal term is over.
There. All right, let's talk about the other parts of this story. Let's talk about Baker. So yeah, Baker has been relatively quiet. We have, however, had debates about Baker. And actually, in recent episodes, if we ever talking to Baker, it was more about the Browns and potential for a move that they would do. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about maybe the Browns would finally be willing to eat half of the salary for his upcoming season in order to make a trade work. Now, remember, this is his 5th-year option. In other words, after this year, his rookie contract is over. He will be, as far as I know, a free agent. But actually, in the last week or two, we've seen Carolina get more involved after that report about Cleveland maybe willing to eat half of the salary. But now, over this last week, we've also seen a couple of sources say something that Seattle may also be back in the hunt. So a few days ago, the CBS Sports reported that the Seahawks still had high interest in acquiring Baker Mayfield. Then there was one report out there that actually I have to go back to our own Twitter because we had a debate about this story. Nick, me, you, and Johnny Montalbano.
Are you talking about the Panthers' alleged situation with getting the trade almost done?
No, the Seahawks getting the trade almost
done.
done.
The Seahawks getting the trade.
Michael Balco. Michael Balco is what I'm talking about.
First of all, and I'm still going to stick on this point. Unless the Browns pay it all, he's not going anywhere. It's not going to happen.
Well, here's where it gets interesting. If Seattle truly is back in the hunt, I think they're more desperate for a quarterback than Carolina is. Let's face something here, guys. Because I know we talked about the Panthers-Browns debate. We talked about that, Nick, your crazy idea about McCaffrey. Here's the whole point. And Robbie Anderson being upset with Darnold as his QB. Are the Panthers really going to be going anywhere?
No. Hell no.
I mean,
that NFC South division, now that Brady is back, that NFC South division's a one-team race. Let's be honest. That's the Buccaneers division.
I still think the Bucs would have been the best team almost anyway, even without Brady.
Now, granted, that's an interesting point, but now granted, there's Seattle. Guys, do you remember how last season, how wild the NFC West was? Russell Wilson and Chris Carson getting hurt, them coming back late to try and do some sort of push, the race between the Rams and the Niners. With that kind of wild division, and the Seahawks still have DK Metcalf, and they still have Tyler Lockett, and now in terms of running backs, they still have Carson, I think, but they also drafted Ken Walker. You're going to need a quarterback there in order to, still compete in a wild division like that. Now, granted, Baker Mayfield is no Russell Wilson, but Baker Mayfield is still a, legit, still a what's the word?
Is still a legitimate. He's still a. I wouldn't even say competent. I'd say he's still a talented quarterback.
Talented,
he can still play.
Okay, there, and talented quarterback who can throw the ball to Lockett and to Metcalf, and also, again, we're talking about Walker and Carson, guys. Baker Mayfield was just in a system for a few years now that was run first with Chubb and Hunt. I think the Seahawks make a lot more sense for a temporary home for Baker than it does in Carolina. And honestly,
but they're not going to get money.
Okay, but listen, if such a trade were to happen and Baker ends up, and doing fine over there, maybe the Seahawks do give Baker another year or two. Then they do give him a contract as free agency.
They got to find someone to eat part of the money, at least 75, 80% of the money, which the Browns are bluffing at right now. Because in their minds, if Deshaun Watson is going to be out for the year, they might have to have Baker start. So I
don't know. I think the Browns are petty enough to actually have Jacoby Brissett start. They're actually, I think they're at the point with Baker where I don't think they're even keeping him around for that. I really do think that they feel that betrayed by him, quote unquote, that they will start Jacoby Brissett rather than hang on to Baker.
And you know what? The Cleveland Browns are the biggest clown show of an organization in the NFL.
Well, the Cleveland Clowns. You just made your own joke.
There you go.
All right. Well, you know what's actually, you know what? Let me play the footage first. So this footage that I'm about to play comes from Sooners Group, specifically Kerry Murdoch and Eddie Rado. And they actually got to talk to Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield was I think this is at Oklahoma, where he has a camp, right? A camp for kids, a youth
for
camp.
Sooners. Yeah.
Yes. And this was, keep in mind, Baker Mayfield was an Oklahoma Sooner. He did play there during his college days, but he was asked about this little situation involving the Browns. And let's throw that up there. Let's see.
Is it a little unfair that you still don't kind of know where you're going or what's going to be happening?
I think I got frustrated with it not happening before, like mini camp and all those things. But that's the stuff that's out of my control, and so let those things happen and fall into place. And so right now I'm just controlling what I can and enjoying this.
A lot of people that know you know kind of what you're about and your personality, and they're curious, could Baker Mayfield ever play again for the Browns if that
I think it's been pretty obvious the mutual decision on both sides is to move on. I'm thankful for my 4 years in Cleveland. There's a lot of ups and downs and a ton of learning experiences that I'll forever keep with me. Teammates and friends and relationships that I'll have for a lifetime. And just flew in last night from East Lansing, Michigan for Drew Stanton, who's my mentor. He was a quarterback there in Cleveland when I got drafted. And just relationships like that, you're just so thankful for. So, I mean, the support staff in Cleveland, the people of Cleveland, it's a great sports town. So I'm thankful for it. And there's no resentment towards the city of Cleveland by any means.
But I think a lot of people think if they didn't have a quarterback for the next year, would there be any chance of reconciliation there?
No, I think for that to happen, there would have to be some reaching out. But we're ready to move on, I think, on both sides.
And to give some more context of that last statement, basically saying that the Browns would have to reach out to him rather than him doing the reaching out,
which is so passive aggressive. I can't stand it.
It's not passive aggressive. It's petty.
It is. That's middle-aged church lady.
It's not passive. It's not passive aggressive. It's petty.
Well, I mean, this whole feud, it has been petty, but I'll say this. I mean, to Baker's point, though, even though Deshaun Watson is facing the suspension, the Browns still have reportedly been shopping him around. So the Browns, actually, kind of what Nick was saying before, they know the risk, and it seems very scary that they might be willing to take on Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback for one season.
But
I'm saying I think they're more comfortable doing that because, again, we're dealing with people and NFL owners. I know you guys know this. They are petty people.
You're right.
Where have you?
They hold grudges like Italian grandmothers do.
I just think I know Baker hasn't done himself any favors. Baker's attitude is kind of
I could say first of all that the Browns organization and Baker Mayfield have both been petty on both sides of this. First of all, the Haslam family is probably the pettiest ownership in all of the NFL. And that's saying a lot considering you had one ownership in New England that was getting massage parlors and money and allegedly doing dumb things.
Also considering that you share a league with Jerry Jones.
Right. But my point is, I'm going to point this all back to where it began. Money!
Well, okay, you're going to throw the money roll out there. Let me play a role for you. Let me play some devil's advocate. Let's say they have all this money. Let's say Deshaun Watson doesn't play and they get the pause on that contract. Do they take, say, $50 million of that money, go to Baker and say, hey, do one more season with us. We'll give you all this little bonus money now.
First of all, the problem you're going to run into, even if they say you're on an indefinite suspension, this is going to be litigated in court for months upon years for that money.
It is. You're saying it's going to be for years. But, Nick, in terms of discipline, they want this done by the end of July.
But you're missing the point, though. My point is that so they say the NFL comes down and says, all right, we're giving you an indefinite suspension. His legal team is going to go directly into court and put a pause on that, saying you can't do that. They're going to appeal through the legal system.
Well, okay. In terms of trading, though, I mean, there are teams out there. It's not like nobody's willing to take him on. Carolina and in Seattle both are willing to take Baker. And guess what? Like I said before, I think Seattle could really use a Baker Mayfield at this point.
I don't think you're wrong. I think he would fit in that system because, like you said, it's a 2 running back system. But do they want to take on the headache, like you've said to me before in the past with Baker Mayfield?
I think they're willing because, Nick, I think they're willing because it's a 1-year deal. That's it.
Right, but is Seattle really going to be in it for a 1-year deal? They're looking for a quarterback, not a stopgap. That's my point.
But they might be willing to take on. But here's the thing. You're forgetting, though, that even if it doesn't work out with Baker, look at this next college class. This next college class is supposed to be going back to Baker's level of rich, talent-filled college quarterbacks.
All right, but we've seen college quarterbacks not work out before. Do I have to go back to a certain initials who are JM that didn't really work out in the league very well? That kind of reminds me of the attitude of Baker Mayfield.
But Nick,
I'm just saying.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, yes, Baker has a bad attitude, but the Browns holding him is useless at this point.
No, I agree with you. I'm saying they either need to let him start or I would just cut him.
Yeah, the Browns are going to want something for that.
Yeah, they definitely would.
Okay,
they definitely would.
Okay, then they need to let up on the tightrope, and they have to say that the team that's taking them is not going to want all the money, which is what I'm saying.
And I don't see the problem of a 50-50 split on Baker Mayfield's contract.
But I don't think that's the problem. I don't think Cleveland wants to take that much money on.
It's Cleveland acting stupid. I'm just going to end by saying this.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote Johnny's minutes that came on this morning, the day of our airing. Yeah, I don't feel bad for Deshaun. I don't feel bad for Baker. I don't feel bad for the front office organization. You know who I feel bad for?
Who?
Cleveland fans. The Cleveland fans who, after 2020, there was a shot that maybe they have finally turned things around, and now they're going to be waiting again for consistent success.
Well, I have one way to sum this up.
Never fails.
Speaking of never fails, the Stanley Cup playoffs never fail to entertain. And for the first time since 2001, Lord Stanley's trophy is being lifted by Colorado. The Avalanche are your champions, defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-2.
All right, let me hear this, Nick, because this is the team that you didn't want winning, right?
No, this
No,
is
that
the
was the
team I
Lightning.
did want to win.
Oh, you wanted the Lightning to win?
No, I wanted the Avalanche to win, and they did.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, go ahead, gloat.
Look, I'm not gloating, but at this point, ladies and gentlemen, and mark this down officially, I no longer have to pretend that hockey doesn't exist. So hockey has been invented. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we all expected this outcome. I really didn't expect the Lightning to put up the kind of fight that they did. However, I mean, credit really has to go to Joe Sakic, because Joe Sakic runs the Avalanche now, doesn't he?
I believe so.
And credit needs to go to the Avs front office to be able to build a championship contender and they were pretty bad for a while, and now all of a sudden,
and then
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Nick. I was gonna say for a while, and then over the last few years they have made the playoffs, but it's been constant falling short. But this was a team that was able to put everything together, put all the pieces together to make things work.
Do you think they eventually ran out of gas after 3 straight makes to the finals?
You're talking about the Lightning?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 straight trips to the finals, though, is nothing to sneeze at.
No,
Again,
but that's a lot of miles.
Especially considering how difficult it is to win a Stanley Cup. Because like I've said before on this show, the hockey playoffs are the hardest playoffs in North American sports.
Correct. But credit has to be given to where it's due, because, again, the last time anybody won back-to-back, 3 straight, or in the case of this team, 4 straight, as far as I know, it's the Islanders of the 80s.
Yeah, and That was 1983 when they won the last one.
Right. And when you talk about the Avalanche, guys, even though the Panthers were the number one team in the whole NHL, the Avalanche were number one in the West, number two overall. But I really saw them as more of a favorite over the Panthers. I mean, this goes back to what I've been saying for weeks and what I said in the night that they did win. I mean, the morning after they won the championship. Rantanen, McKinnon, Kadri, Makar, all 80 plus point players during the regular season. They had a great, speedy, hit 'em hard offense. And it was that speedy, hit 'em hard offense that won these guys the cup. And credit has to be given to all the patience and all the suffering that they had to go through to finally get to this point.
And I got to tell you, I mean, I think that the Avalanche have now emerged as the force in the West. You remember for a couple of years it was the Kings, and then maybe it was San Jose for a year, and then maybe they were even talking about the Ducks maybe making a comeback, which hasn't happened since 2009. So I think that they are now the team to beat in the NHL, regardless of whether they are champion or whether they had won the championship or not. They are the force in the West. It's going to go through them, the path to the Stanley Cup for the next couple of years.
I agree. All right. A little salute to hockey, and as a Rangers fan, I'm sad the hockey season's over. I'm sad ours came to an end a little too soon. I mean, they were playing with house money. I still would have liked to get to the cup, but you know what?
Please don't mention the Rangers.
I was just going to say, great season, though. Great hockey season. It's good that hockey has finally gotten back to the normal schedule after the 19 to 20 COVID season and the shortened season of 2021. Finally, hockey's back.
Here, wait.
Normal.
Nick, I'll sum it up for you.
I hate you. Get the out of here.
Fucking lightning.
All right.
Fucking
Nick,
lightning.
let's stop making you mad. Let's make Nick Morganson mad.
Oh.
It's time. Let's talk about Kyrie Irving.
Oh.
After all of this teasing, after all of this, it's certain those two are going to split, and then Kevin Durant's going to go, and all this drama. No, Kyrie Irving is going to opt into the final year of his $36.5 million deal.
It's pretty much like one of those old noir films. You didn't think you'd get rid of me that easily, did you?
Well, for anyone who didn't think he was not going to opt into his $36.5 or $37 million player option, I should say, you're all dumbasses.
It's like I said in my minute the other day. It surprises no one with a body temperature of 98.6.
You want to know how much of a sure thing this was? If he didn't take the deal, he would have left $30 million on the table to accept a mid-level exception, $6 million from the Lakers.
To be fair, though,
it was only the Lakers and the Knicks that were interested in him?
Forget them.
Time out. To be fair, though, you don't think Kyrie maybe is that crazy that he would have done it? I mean, come on. This is a guy who thinks the world is flat and vaccines are terrible.
How many times
I was looking for a vegan vaccine, for God's sake.
How many times do I have to say he walked back that flat theory?
It is going to live in infamy.
First of all, he walked it back because he didn't. No. He still believes the world is flat. He probably still believes that the universe is being carried by goats on chariots. Some kind of cosmic animal is dragging the universe forward into the future. I'm telling you, he still believes that it's just not socially acceptable to say it.
What's next? Does he think aliens are roaming the earth also?
Don't say that. You're going to get the Ancient Aliens guy on.
Aliens.
I'm just saying. So he was not leaving $30 million on the table. I'll tell you that, number one. All the teams that were on the list, and I spoke to Johnny Montalbano about this because I was filling it on Game On this past week. All the teams on the list, the Knicks, the Lakers, Philly, the Heat, and the Mavs. All teams that don't have cap space for Kyrie Irving.
Well, actually, I'm going to think back to when we had Paul on not too long ago, talking about the Lakers, who were the one team, I should mention, that Irving was given the option to look around, see any sign and trade options. They were the one team that showed interest. But the problem, they already have a certain contract that they're dealing with initials RW.
Oh, yeah, Russell Westbrook, which, by the way, is costing them more than it's costing the Nets with Kyrie at $47 million.
The same Russell Westbrook contract that other teams wanted a first for just to take on.
And this is not out of any kind of obligation to Brooklyn and its fans, right?
What do you mean?
I'm not, but the reason why he came back, it's not. Yeah.
No, it's money.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we're all on the same page here.
Well,
no,
I'm about to say a theory that's going to drive you crazy, but it's true.
Oh no.
Oh God.
So, Kyrie had Kevin Durant wrapped around his dick. Okay. And I'm not kidding you, because do you want to know how Kevin Durant? Wait a minute, listen to me. Do you want to know why Kevin Durant ended up in Brooklyn?
Because of Kyrie.
Because of Kyrie. Everything has to do with Kyrie. All the theories, all the analysts are coming out and say, "Well, if Kyrie gets traded, Kevin Durant wants out." I believe him.
I agree. Well, I'll ask then. Is there, even though he has opted in, is there still a chance the Nets, just after all of the headache that he's caused the last year or two, still try to trade him and trade Durant?
1,000%. 1,000%.
So it's not even a guarantee he'll be back in Brooklyn anyways.
Well, considering how long it took them to actually move on from Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo, I mean, the Nets aren't exactly adept at fixing, at admitting fault, and you know what, saying, "Hey, we screwed this one up."
But this isn't their fault.
Honestly, it's not
this isn't their fault, but
Kyrie Irving. The fault is on Kyrie Irving not willing to jab and not willing to come to work. Isn't that right, Stephen A. Smith?
Oh God!
Can I play that footage? I'm sorry.
I guess you were anyway.
Yeah, you can play. Yeah, you can play some of it.
Did you see it? I saw the news. I know you saw the news. Oh, Kyrie Irving, you opted in after all. Took that money, didn't you? 1 year deal, y'all. 1 year, $36.9 million. Exercises his player option. So what does that mean? To y'all, it means Kyrie's going to be a Brooklyn Net. You know what it means to me? I guess he's a peon too, huh? So you got to go to work. You got to show up to work. You actually got to go to work. You got to go up there and earn that money. You got to show up to work. Because even if you plan on leaving the Brooklyn Nets, because we all know that Kyrie doesn't plan on staying in Brooklyn for the full year. He's offended. He's appalled. He's put back by the fact that the Brooklyn Nets actually said you have to show up to earn your money. We know that offends him. So you're thinking, hey, guess what? I'm going to get the hell up out of here. Philly somewhere, they willing to give me a 3-year guaranteed deal. The Clippers could get their hands on me. They want me. Maybe I could get to the Los Angeles Clippers. Who knows? Maybe somehow, some way, the Los Angeles Lakers will be able to work out a sign and trade. Guess what, Kyrie? No matter what options you may think you have down the road, it all starts with you having to show up to work first. You show up to work, then you got a future where you're going to make your money.
Yeah. And you know what? Just because I was having some fun, we're going to ride the Peon Express. And Nick is muted.
We are all...
First of all, peon is spelled P-E-O-N.
Oh, damn it!
We are riding the Peon Express, which is actually better than riding the Peon Express.
The Peon Express, which is...
The problem is Kyrie is peeing all over the Brooklyn Nets, right?
I believe that's the golden train to Flushtown, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, wait a minute.
Also, this is not, it has really nothing to do with anything, but didn't that clip kind of look like one of those old black and white Nike commercials from the 90s? The one
Stephen A. Smith was dressed like a 90s person.
Yeah.
By the way, Stephen A. Smith wearing a backwards hat and wearing a tank top, that's kind of scary.
He's cosplaying as Wesley Snipes from White Men Can't Jump. So,
the long story short, the whole thing with Kyrie Irving is a tool, okay? Kyrie Irving has no business in this league anymore. First of all, he's got FU upon FU upon FU upon FU upon FU money.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, what Kyrie Irving thinks is really not. I hate to say it's not news, but I mean, he's going to do what he wants to do. And the league is perfectly content letting him do it.
Let me go back to this one more time, okay? And I hope Kyrie sees this and Kevin Durant sees this because they love Twitter so much that they go into the Twitter sphere and they quote tweet everything they see.
No.
They're going to use a picture of you as a dartboard.
So let them. That'll just give us more promotion to our network. I don't care. Kevin Durant is around the dick of Kyrie Irving, okay?
Wait a minute. I thought you said it was the other way around.
No, Kevin.
Who's on whose genitals here? It doesn't make any sense.
Kevin Durant is on Kyrie's dick. Okay.
Oh, okay. So you're switching that around?
No, that's what I've been saying.
No, you said it was the. You know what? Never mind. Go ahead.
My point is, like I said, if Kyrie decides to skip town, Kevin Durant's going to skip town. But here's the problem: Kevin Durant this past offseason signed a 4-year, $198 million extension.
Coming up. Sorry.
So Kyrie's not going. So Kevin Durant's not going anywhere.
Coming up at 9:00, the newest game show, Who's on Whose Genitals? Only on Fox.
It's about right. And you know what? Riding the Peon Express is going to be our new podcast that we're bringing to our network.
Viewer discretion is advised.
All right. Some other notes from NBA free agency you wanted to go over, Mr. Morgeson. I guess we start with the recent news about John Wall.
Well, so John, it seems like the Rockets and big name players just don't get along. I mean, first it was James Harden. Now it's John Wall, who got a massive buyout. It seems like the Rockets just like to eat money instead of making it at this point. So now the report is that he wants to sign in LA, but it's not the Lakers. It's the Clippers. So
that's like saying I'd like to sign with a basketball team, but I'll sign with the Washington Generals.
No, actually, the Clippers are not a bad team. I'm a little surprised that he went on a team with Kawhi, who hasn't played for like 3 seasons, and Paul George, who you don't know if he's ever healthy. But I don't know. This is an interesting one. I mean, they're going to get him for basically a waiver, basically.
But they still have what's his name? Kawhi Leonard.
That's what I just said. Yeah, he hasn't played for like 3 seasons. He's been hurt all the time.
Yes, but he's still there.
Kawhi's a wimp. Kawhi's won with the Spurs, but he wouldn't have won without any of those guys there. Kawhi's not a number one.
Let's talk. What about what about Russell Westbrook? Only other note is Russell Westbrook.
So that was a player option, like Kyrie Irving, $47 million. I don't know if you saw the weird video that he was singing Madonna in his car.
Yeah, I did.
And he, whatever the song of the summer was, or whatever he was singing, I don't remember. But that was his choice. The Lakers had no say over that. That's left over from the deal he signed in OKC. So they were on the
he's stuck. So he's stuck, in other words. Well, they're stuck with him.
Yeah, $47 million, which means they would have to take out a 10th mortgage if they wanted to make any other moves.
So it's the basketball equivalent of locking yourself out of your car, is it?
Yes and no, but here's one thing that you probably didn't expect me to say. The Lakers are going to be the Mr. Irrelevant of the NBA next season.
Oh, are you kidding? No. I had a pool going as to when you were going to say that. By the way, I owe you $10, Tom.
My point is that the Lakers are no one cares. LeBron or not, it doesn't matter. Anthony Davis is going to be hurt. That was one of the names they were throwing around, by the way, in a Kyrie Irving deal. I'm not even kidding.
Davis.
Even a team led by LeBron is going to be Mr. Irrelevant. What does that tell you?
Says a lot about the team around him.
All your NBA dreams have come true. That's what everything you wanted has come to pass.
And
so really, you should be happy here.
And I'll conclude, like I said before, just to wrap this all up. Kyrie is number 1 on my big board of enemies right now. Not LeBron. LeBron is number 2.
All right. One last note: NBA draft. Now, I wasn't around the night of the NBA draft. I was looking at everything on my phone, and at the end of the night, I had to look and see, and I'm like, "What the hell did the Knicks do?"
The Knicks.
In order to sum this up, I really wish you had created a sound file we could use of just a long, unbroken fart noise. If we could just sum that up, that would be perfect.
No, a long, unbroken scream of agony.
No, this is what James. Wait a minute, Nick. This is what James Dolan was saying right before he went into the draft.
RELAX.
And then he proceeds to walk into a wall.
Well, so here's the problem. So they did the same thing they did when they went after Kristaps Porzingis. They went international at the 11th pick, traded that right to OKC, who was the 12th pick behind them.
Because they couldn't get Jaden Ivey.
And it's bad when the trade says the rights of the player were traded to this team, and it doesn't say what's coming back in return.
Because it's pretty much just pretty much just a bunch of IOUs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by the way,
and this is all because of Jalen Brunson.
Well, so that's another name. So apparently, a report came out that excuse me, the Knicks are willing to spend $100 million for the. Let me say that again. Jalen Brunson for the Knicks, $100 million deal. That's what the Knicks are willing to spend.
You know what this reminds me of, guys? Speaking of Kyrie, this reminds me of 2019 when they cleared all this cap. They got rid. They do all these moves at the draft.
They don't have the cap space though.
Okay, no, but they make all these moves, trade away picks. They traded away Kemba freaking Walker, and instead of getting a superstar, they're just going to get a bunch of B guys, and this rebuild is just going to last even longer.
Well, Kemba Walker was benched for the last half of the season anyway. But here's the problem. The Knicks and the draft just don't coincide.
They can't coexist. They're oil and water.
So James Dolan basically sits there, looks at the draft, and says, who can I piss off first? That's what he does.
I really wish he would just hire some talent who doesn't look as lost as a Buddhist at a gun show. I really, really, really wish that they weren't this incompetent at it. But you know what? I think it's too much to hope for, don't you?
But here's the weird thing. So they were going after Ivy, and they were trying to get the 5th pick from the Pistons. I'm glad they didn't make the deal. Because they did it would have cost them Barrett. It would have.
Look, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, it's fool's gold to hope. To hope that the Knicks can ever turn
as a
it
Knicks
around.
fan, yeah.
Because good old Guitar Jimmy, look, we're dealing with a man who has the mental acuity who probably he probably can get himself stuck in a revolving door.
Well, I don't know about that, but the Knicks are a joke when it comes to the draft. Okay, you knew this was going to be a failure going in. They could have had Zion Williamson, or they thought they were going to get Zion Williamson. Mm-hmm. Their whole draft was based around Zion Williamson. It's probably a good thing it wasn't.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the Knicks in the 21st century. A day late and $1 short.
More like $5 short.
Yeah, pretty much.
But but wait a minute, they're going to spend $100 million on Jalen Brunson?
It's stupid, Nick. It's stupid. I'm telling you, it's stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. Stupid runs that team.
Just wait. Tomorrow, I'm calling it now. Oh, actually, whenever this comes out, the day after this comes out, you're going to see a press release that says Jalen Brunson to the Knicks on a $100 million deal.
And again, it's just like 2019.
Because this is what happens when you have agents run your teams. This is why look, Leon Rose is pretty much he's pretty much the Brody Van Wagenen of NBA.
I was just going to say that.
He thinks yes, I can run a team because I know players. Evidently you don't, because they don't want to come here.
It's not just that. I mean, I know what you mean. You're talking about all the way back to the 2010s when they tried to clear the cap the first time. When they tried to go after LeBron and D Wade and Bosh and then they spit in their face again back in 2015 when they became agents again. And the Knicks need to face the facts that no one wants to come to play in New York.
All right. One last basketball story here. Brittney Griner, just a note, her court date's been set for July 1st. However, her Russian detention has been extended. She must stay for a minimum of another 6 months.
Did you see? I saw what the actual conviction charge would be if they actually convict her
For
Drug trafficking.
for trafficking. 10 years.
Just because she had hash oil in her bag.
It was the cartridges.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, actually. It wasn't. This woman is being used as a political prop, and it's just the State Department just really doesn't seem to. They like to take their sweet ass time with these things.
Do you think? Here's something that I need to say. Do you think the NBA really wants Griner back?
They're involved.
They're involved trying to get her back.
Oh yeah, they are.
NBA, WNBA, the government.
Well, then again, if they had paid her more, she wouldn't have been in Russia in the first place. So, there you go.
But Nick, that's a fallacy of a predetermined outcome. You don't know if that would have happened just because of money.
It's not a fallacy of a predetermined outcome because, again,
we've talked to Nick, you were not for Nick Morganson. You were the one who was passionate about getting WNBA players more when the New York Liberty were getting the fines for the plane.
Right, but I'm saying that the reason it's the fallacy of predetermined outcome is if she didn't have the drugs, there wouldn't be a mess like this.
But she would not have been in Russia if you paid her more. So really, the fault needs to lie with ownership. I mean, some fault does lie with Brittney Griner. But again, if she was paid more, this wouldn't happen.
I agree with you. I
guarantee you, if this was a male NBA player, they'd move heaven and earth to try and get him back.
I don't know.
They probably would have brought Chuck Norris out of retirement to try to get her back.
Wow,
that probably would have been the plot to the next Delta Force movie.
Wait, does that mean
I know I'm dating myself here.
Wait, does that mean a fist is going to come out of his chin also?
I mean, it's not. Well, you know, I've seen it happen before. God knows it could happen again.
My point is that she could have avoided this whole thing by not carrying the cartridges in her luggage.
And if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, what would we have?
No, I understand. And first of all, you're right.
No. Finish the question. What would we have?
It's a dumb.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
They should be paid, but the problem is the WNBA doesn't make as much money as the NBA does.
Don't give me that bullshit because the owners that own those teams are fucking flush with money.
Nick,
so don't tell me they don't bring in the revenue. They just don't want to spend it.
Are you kidding me? The WNBA doesn't make as much as the NBA does.
But the owners that own teams, they're bringing in money hand over fist. But I guess the WNBA is not important enough.
First of all, they don't have the revenue structure that the NBA does.
Wait a minute. You spent episodes in the past arguing, saying that the owners should have paid them more, and now you're taking their side?
No, I'm saying that the WNBA doesn't have the same structure to make revenue as the NBA does. I'm with you.
But
you
can pay them more.
Right, but if they don't have the same money structure, how can they pay them more, is my point.
Yes, they can pay them more. You don't have to pay them at an NBA scale, but you can pay them enough so they don't have to be seeking out jobs in the offseason.
I agree with you. You're right.
Major League Baseball in the 1950s.
No, you're right, and I understand your point. And what doesn't make sense either is that you have some NBA owners who own WNBA teams. So technically, it should be classified as an NBA WNBA ownership.
You proved my point for me. Shall I take a bow?
I'm just saying that technically they don't have the same revenue structure, though.
Okay, time.
Bow anyway.
I said time. We got to move on. We're running out of time, and we still have baseball stories we got to talk about. And I'm only saying time because I know we're probably going to get all riled up about this next one, where the Yankees and Aaron Judge have avoided arbitration. They were at the very 11th hour when they shook hands on a 1-year, $19 million deal, which, guys, did I not say at the start of all this that one was at 17, one was at 21? I said, okay, go in the middle, make 19. And we wait till now?
Wait a minute. I'm going to rile Nick up right now also. I promised. Thank
No, it's okay. I've been your punching bag all episode. But go ahead, punch me in the face. I can't feel anything anymore.
So I said this on Game On. I've said this on prior episodes. He's not worth a 9 or 10-year deal. He's not.
You're
Nick,
high. I don't know what you're high on, and I want some.
He's not worth the 9 or 10 years. He's
I'm not
31
gonna give
years
him,
old.
Nick, I wouldn't give him double digits. I wouldn't. He'd be 41 at the time of that contract.
Which, but are you kidding? You're not paying him for the back end of the deal. You're paying him for the front.
Wait a minute. You just pointed out something. That's the biggest problem. Look at the Trout contract. Look at the Bryce Harper contract, who, by the way, is out 4 to 6 weeks. Again, look at the Pujols contract. They had to eat the last 2.5, 3 years of the contract. 10-year deals don't work.
And I agree, but Nick, I would agree on a front-ended deal, but I don't think they're going to want a front-ended deal because all those contracts that Nick has been saying, those are they load them at the back end.
And guess what? Those teams are paying for it now.
So the two of you are actually going to sit there, look me straight in the eye, and say that they should move on from Aaron Judge.
We didn't say
Time out. The first argument that we had about the 6-7 year, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
Going to double digits?
That's a lot.
No.
He's not Robinson Cano though. Because I know you're going to use. You're going to use Robinson Cano as an example here.
Robinson Cano had some.
Nick, all of this is also going to be fallacy free. We don't know what Judge is going to do. Maybe he's still hot shit, or maybe next year he breaks his leg and all of a sudden he's back to the Aaron Judges of 2018, 2019.
That's the problem. 10-year deals, and the last one and it didn't even make sense, was the A-Rod contract.
I'm good. Okay, you want a bad take from me? I'll give you a bad take. Mike Trout and Bryce Harper partially ruined baseball.
I agree. I second that.
By taking on these kinds of contracts, and so you got guys like Judge, guys like, who's even going to be a free? Guys like Judge, guys like
Juan Soto.
All these contracts now, they want to be the highest paid player in baseball.
Then
guess where it all started?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, because one other funny point. And then what happened the season after Harper left the Nationals, guys?
They won the World Series, but that's the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, but Nick.
But they were able to spread around the money.
Right, that's the problem. Soto was off.
The Yankees don't have to do that, though.
But wait a minute, Nick.
But Nick, and I hate saying this because Nick, I really want to be on your side, but different Yankee ship. George is dead.
I can't believe I'm outnumbered here.
If George was still the owner, you would be right the whole way. If George was still alive, he would sign that check as soon as it came up.
Well, if that's the case, then Hal is making one of the biggest mistakes I've ever seen an owner make.
Okay, I'll throw this question out there since we're going to get there. And I've wanted to ask this for about a year, but not. If the Yankees do not win within the next 3 years, should the Steinbrenner family sell the team?
It's not going to happen.
They won't. But again, I don't think that you're going to find an owner that is willingly going to spend money, because the only other guy that's willing to spend like that owns the Mets. So
okay, but there's a difference between an owner who's had legacy with a team and an owner who's a drunken sailor spending money.
But again, I've always been of the opinion that you need to spend money to make money. Why are you hoarding it?
Okay, and the Yankees for years had to dig out of the crap that they pulled because of all the money that they spent rather than working on their farm system.
But Nick, there is also a flip to that, and that is sometimes, especially as of late, the Yankees have gotten too handsy with their prospects. Need I not say the name Clint Jackson Frazier?
Oh, Clint Jackson Frazier or Greg Bird or shit. I'll even go one better. Jesus Montero.
Okay, I get it, but I'd rather them work on their system, which they were never doing under George.
They're doing it now. You've got a good crop of players coming up, but you need somebody to guide them. You need a guy. You need somebody to step into. I hate to say it.
I'll go. Okay, Nick.
Different kinds of players, but Derek Jeter's place as the face of the Yankees.
Yeah, but
that now.
Nick, I'd say Aaron Judge is the face of the team, but I don't think he's the most important player on that team. I would say DJ.
He absolutely is, because if he's
DJ.
not having the season he's having,
Who is it?
DJ
Who'd you say it
LeMahieu.
is? Oh, actually, that's a good point.
You need a guy who's
you've got a
need-
point, but I don't. Go
you
ahead.
need a guy who's willing to take that discount to help spread the money around and be not even if he's not a home run hitter, he hits the singles. He comes up in the clutch situations. You need a guy like that.
He'll get on base
And get on base and be flexible in the field.
and play different positions. Yes.
He is so I think he was just as important. You want another take? I think he was just as important to the Rockies' success in the mid-2010s as Nolan Arenado was.
I would say more. Because Nolan Arenado was a power hitter. Arenado won 2 batting titles with Colorado, I think.
DJ, first player in years, I think, who won a batting title in the NL and AL.
So the point is, just look at history, Nick. Look at and I'm going to use the big A word, analytics. Look at the analytics of a 10-year
And you hate analytics.
I hate analytics, but I had to get used to it, okay? The analytics of a 10-year contract, tell me the history of how many of them worked out so far, Nick.
I want Aaron Judge back, but I think if he wants 10 years, I think you're going to see the Mets or Giants swoop in.
And let the Mets do it, because they'll be fucked over when they sign that ridiculous contract.
But how many World Series are they going to win in the interim with him?
Well, let's talk about that. If this is true, if this is truly the end, and we're having all this fight about Aaron Judge, is this season must win for the Yankees?
Yeah.
I don't think it's based off of Aaron.
Whether it is or is not, you have to win. Now is the time.
It's
What
not
better time than now.
But it's not based off of Aaron Judge. They're on a historic pace to win 120 games.
Yeah, you got to win. Now you got to win.
But
now
I don't
got to win it all.
But that's not based off of Aaron Judge. That's based off the team.
What I was saying is, guys, if you look at the last few years of postseason Yankees, it's always been too early. We had two times where we had the controversies with the Astros and the ALCS. One year where the Red Sox spanked us in the DS. And then let's face it, the last 2 seasons have been crap to the point where it's debatable they shouldn't have even made the playoffs last year. They almost didn't. They almost lost that final. If they had lost that final game,
they wouldn't have made it.
The Blue Jays would have won. They wouldn't have made it on that last day. My point is, if we had some more time with Judge and our prospect system was of the 2010s, maybe you set your goal as going back to the ALCS or winning the pennant. But now with them wanting to move guys like Volpe up very quickly, Judge may be going after this year. This may be your window. This is it. If you don't win if you lose Game 7 of the World Series, it could be an F season.
I wouldn't call it an F season, but I would.
No. I understand what you're saying, Tom. But what the difference here is, they're always expecting to win World Series or bust.
Well,
and it's really sometimes it's to their detriment that it's always got to be right now, because I think it's fostered a sense of impatience among certain strains of Yankee fans. You can find them on social media, by the way.
I know, and I understand about that, and I understand how Yankee fans always are, and sometimes we hate our own Yankee fans for our fellow Yankee fans for that. But just thinking about bigger picture. I mean, think about it. This team, what did we say about this pitching system? That it was going to be crap, and it's absolutely incredible. But what happens if all of them suffer setbacks next year? What's this team going to look like? I don't know if as Yankee fans, and just in terms of the Yankees' historical context, again, this is a different ownership than it was under George. Maybe Brian Cashman has some different orders under Hal than he does from George. But
he does.
No, but my point is, maybe they're willing to do the little fluctuation. Okay, a loss in an ALDS here, a loss in a World Series here, and a loss in ALCS here, a bad season here. I'm saying my point is this constant ride for success. I know, it's cursed us as fans and it's made us impatient and quite frankly despicable. But with what this team could be like compared to this historical run that nobody saw coming, like you said, Nick Federa, what better opportunity than now?
Better time than now.
and especially because we don't know what that future Yankee team is going to look like.
I want to point out a few things. One, the ownership and the GM have lifetime positions with the Yankees, so they're not going anywhere. That's number one. Brian Cashman has been threatened to be fired how many times now, and it hasn't happened?
Well, he's been threatened to be fired by the peanut gallery that is Yankees Twitter, and if that was the case, you'd see a different.
Yeah, to be careful of the term.
Every night.
My other point is, just to give you another example of the 10-year contract, the Nationals offered Juan Soto 13 years, $350 million. And he turned it away. And don't give me the bullshit excuse that it's because it's the Nationals. That's a large contract.
I guess he felt like he didn't want to be stuck in a rebuilding phase.
Now, I think that's the one guy I would have my eye on if it meant Judge was gone.
And the other thing,
although they're also talking about what's his name from Pittsburgh, Reynolds. That's not a Juan Soto, but I mean, as a piece maybe to get a World Series and as a piece to maybe get rid of Gallo for the remainder of this little half a year that he's got left.
Forget Gallo. Gallo's a useless bat. But my point is, Aaron Judge, the Yankees need to look at the crystal ball and see what Bryce Harper is causing the agita to the Phillies right now under that large contract. He keeps getting hurt every year. He misses 4 to 6 weeks.
But they also don't put a good team around him. And granted, MLB doesn't have a cap, but when you're giving $300-something million to one player,
no, I'm saying that's bad.
Limits. And the problem with the Yankees is they already have somebody who's making $300 million. Garrett Cole.
But that's my point, Nick. To look at that type of thing. You know what I mean?
And Cole, and it's sorry to take the Nicholas point one more time, but even then, Cole gets some criticism for his performances playing up to the contract.
At a certain point, ladies and gentlemen, just to wrap this up, I'll say this. You know what we need to be focused on as Yankee fans? The here and now. Take it game by game. Do what Mariano Duncan did. Say we played today, we win today. That's exactly it. We talk about the here and now, and stop looking towards the horizon.
Right.
Just keep your eyes focused.
And honestly, if this season were to be the end, wouldn't it be a little more bittersweet, or I mean, a little more sweeter if it did end after all of this, rebuild, after all these are missing, and then the prospects and the too much if all that ended finally with a World Series title.
Look what Freddie Freeman just did.
Well, that's another thing we should talk about. But my point is, Nick will still be pissed off. Even if we win a World Series this year, he still will be pissed off when Aaron Judge walks out the door.
Okay, and I'll be upset about the situation too. But it's better than mission failed. Mission accomplished is better than mission failed.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So I'll ask that question just so it's out there. Are you going to be annoyed that if we win a World Series, if the Yankees win a World Series, and then he walks away and signs with the Mets on a 10-year deal?
Yes, but it will be tempered from the fact that it will be tempered. I don't know by how much, because we're talking about a hypothetical situation here. That the fact that they will have finally won a championship for the first time since 2009. I can't math right because I was trying to figure how long has it been since 2009?
13 years.
13
years. Thank you.
It's actually 1 year. It's actually 1 year less than the Mets World Series appearances in 1986 and 2000.
Oh crap!
So Nick, let me throw one more at you, and then we'll move on. If we offered Aaron Judge 5 or 6 years, but we raised the money on the years, would that make more sense in your head?
I mean, from the team's perspective, yeah, I could see them doing that. I don't know if Judge would accept it because it's not about the money, it's about the years.
And this is what I don't get. Baseball has the longest average career of all sports. They get injured the least. 5 or 6 years at, let's say 30-something million, if that's what they decide. He's already got FU money.
Well, who are you getting mad at here? I'm not his agent.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you're talking about the years. Like, everyone's talking about the years.
I'll say this: if at least we were dealing with Soto, yes, we'd be dealing with Mr. BS. But at least Soto's 24. And I think that's where I'm getting at with the Judge thing about offering 10 years. He'll be 41. If you gave a 10-year deal to Soto, he'd be 34 at the time of the contract expires.
He'd be at the beginning of the drop, essentially.
Right.
Just these 13-year deals that, like, Harper and Soto, those are.
And here's the thing, guys. I don't think it's slowing down. I'm trying to see who is a 2023 free agent in MLB. Oh no, that technically would be 2023. They'll include Judge.
I'll give you
2024.
I'll give you one of the worst long-term contracts of all time, Miguel Cabrera.
Oh, hang on. I want to see who's a 2024 free agent. Bellinger, but Bellinger's kind of taking the.
But do you understand what I mean by Miguel Cabrera's contract was probably one of the worst?
Hold on. I want to know, guys. Sorry, 2025. No, not draft picks. I want free agents.
Well, he's looking that up. Long story short, the Yankees are crazy to offer him a 10-year deal. That's just my thought.
And all I'm saying is, let's just focus on the here and now.
Well, while he's looking that up, let's talk about something else that happened.
I was just gonna say Emmanuel Margot, Max Kepler. Could you imagine? I know they aren't as big of names as a Judge or a Trout, but could you imagine what they might command if those guys are getting what they're getting? Free agency is gonna, and the fact that Judge is not the only big name free agent when you got also likes of Trey Turner coming up too, this is gonna be wild.
Well,
do we have to talk about this?
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that Yankee fans there's a certain breed of impatience that has been fostered out of us. You would think that the sky was falling after Saturday's game where they got combined no hit by someone named Christian Javier and by what the hell is his name? The guy who closed it out. Huh?
No, I was gonna say by three combined pitchers, and you know what's funny or sad depending on the context. You know what the last time the Yankees were no hit when it was against
by the Astros
2003.
In 2003.
In 2003.
That was
you know what? It bodes well because the last couple of times they've been no hit, those teams went to the World Series.
That was the Roy Oswalt injured start in 2003.
Yes,
and that was all Met fans will be used to this. Billy Wagner closed that game out.
Wow. Billy Wagner. Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
I think Yankee fans need to relax. Now I understand they split a 4-game series against the Astros. That's really their only competition.
Well, considering the way they played that weekend, I mean, it could have been worse.
I mean, let's be real, guys. We talk about how historic of a season this is. The momentum was never going to last forever. There were going to be challenges, and there are challenges right now. That series against the Astros the last week, it's been, they haven't had the same kind of momentum. Gleyber Torres now dealing with a rolled ankle after just an absolute freak kind of way that he got it running on the base paths. If you did not think there were going to be challenges this season, you are mistaken. And right now they're being tested. But as long as they do well against the A's and against the Guardians, and then they have series coming up in July against the Pirates and Reds, which I will be pissed. I will be pissed if they do not sweep both of those series.
I'm sure we have Detroit coming up somewhere in there too.
Like as long as you is in these challenges, even if it's not, dominant, even if it's not winning a 10-game homestand 8-1, 8-2, or 9-1, even if it's only 6-4, as long as you are consistent,
by the way,
it will be fine.
By the way, it's funny you brought up challenges, by the way.
No. Well, it wouldn't be an episode. I mean, last week we didn't have it, but it wouldn't be a fun episode if we did not have good old Rob Manfred. And I said that partially Trout and Harper and their contracts were ruining the game because the other portion which is probably about 70% at this point. This guy right here.
Good old Rob Manfred.
Congratulations, dickweeds.
All right. So there's a league of baseball. I think it's a minor league baseball that our friend and fellow podcast host Johnny Montalbano frequently attends. And they have a challenge system in place for balls and strikes where I think it's like up to 3 pitches in a game they can challenge to see if it was actually a ball or a strike. And Rob Manfred attended one of these games around the South Carolina area, and he liked it. And now it's probably not going to happen for 2023. I think they already said no, but it is going to be considered for the future.
So wait, let's put that under the list of larger bases and pitch clock and babying the players and DH, more streaming deals,
Inflatable baseball pants.
trampolines in the outfield, balloon
Gloves being
animals.
lead for some reason.
So this is just you know what? I'm going to classify it.
Major League Baseball is just a circus.
It is. It's a circus full. You know what? It's not even a circus full of the fun kind of clowns. It's a circus full of the incompetent clowns. The ones that can't make balloon animals. The ones that apply their makeup all wrong. The ones that actually end up air horning their own faces.
The ones that end up stumbling out of the clown car. They can barely fit.
It's the ones who eat the banana and accidentally throw the banana peel in front of them instead of behind them and slip on it.
Kicking their big shoes in front of the audience. Traumatizing 8-year-olds the world over.
I mean, it is what it is. We're just going to get more streaming games.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, stop giving Rob Manfred ideas. We already know he's got the attention span of a house cat.
I know there's this cry for robot umpires, but to take away a human element out of the game completely. Oh, this was going to your argument, Nick.
Yes. But I was going to say one thing here. So Robert went to that South Carolina game, wherever he went, and he said, oh, well, this looks like a good idea. And then he said,
did we just become best friends? Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go what you said earlier in the week, Nick. Could you imagine if a big game, like a Game 7 of an LCS, Game 6 of the World Series, comes down, that last play comes down to a challenge over a ball and strike?
bases loaded tie game in the bottom of the ninth of a Game 7 in an LCS. And you're going to tell me that you're going to overturn a call on a challenge from a strike to a ball, and you're going to allow a walk, and you're going to allow the series to end on a challenge call.
Well, considering the success rate that they have in actually overturning calls, even when they are plain as day, I would say we're pretty well covered in the they could fuck this up department. But conversely, do you really want it in the hands of Angel Hernandez?
Well, they kind of taken it out of the hands of Angel Hernandez.
But that's exactly it. I don't think it's the Angel Hernandez proof solution.
Yeah, but you know what the other Angel Hernandez proof solution is? Never book him for an important game.
Just don't put him in the World Series.
No, wait. Tom, you can't do that. You know why?
Why?
That's racist!
Oh.
Well, you know what? It's a diversity hire anyway, because he's blind.
I was just going to say.
Ouch! Damn it, I was
thinking that.
Damn it.
It's discrimination against blind people.
Wow.
He's gonna eject you from a game now. he's gonna find you in the next baseball game you attend, Nick. He's actually gonna be there, and he said, "Oh, you can't go in there."
Wait,
or I could just point to one of you, and then he'll say, "Who said that?" They did. Okay, you're out.
Wait a minute. You're gonna Bob Davidson a fan who was with a laser pointer just eject the fan?
I wasn't thinking that. I wasn't thinking back. I was thinking more of the old minor league baseball clip where the screwed up a call, and the organist started playing Three Blind Mice, and
He threw him out. That's actually funny, though.
It is.
Do you know there's still a viral clip on YouTube of Angel Hernandez at a Chicago Cubs game during when they're singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game"? They had a comedian doing it, and like he was just making jokes about Angel Hernandez, and then he ejected the comedian from the game. I'm not even kidding. It's on YouTube.
Oh God!
All I could
keeps on giving.
All I could say is Major League Baseball.
Look at all the failure.
All right. Time to wrap this episode up. Thank you once again to our partners or sponsors at Knack for continuing to hook up with us and keep providing us these and all of you these quality bags. Remember, purchase the Knack Sling Bag. Purchase the Knack Sling Bag, free shipping. Free shipping. Click the link in the description.
And you'll get yours. And you know what? They sanction our madness. So really, don't you want to support the people that support us?
Yeah, I mean, support our Knack Bag family. Go check out the new Knack Sling Bag. It's a nice product. Who doesn't want free shipping on this new product? So make sure you go get it.
Yeah.
And make sure to follow us across social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And follow us. You'll see in the description, the little ticker below. I'll show our own social medias that you can follow us at. Other than that, that's going to do it for us. So for Nick Morrison, Nick Videra, I'm Tom Albano. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.